This is Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. We're in Sacramento at our Capitol Bureau. We are joined by Jacqui Irwin. She is a member of the California State Assembly, representing significant portions of beautiful Ventura County and a little of LA County.
A little bit of LA County,
right.
Yes.
But
I represent Westlake.
Westlake, which of course I know well. I grew up not far from there. But I want to speak with you about a university in Camarillo. Beautiful Camarillo, yeah. Cal State Channel Islands. For those of us not familiar with the institution, tell us about it. It's new, I understand, relatively new.
Yeah, it's the newest Cal State.
Nice.
It's been there for 12 years and a fantastic school. Kids love it and very integrated within the community, so gets a lot of business support.
Indeed. And let's face it, it's getting harder and harder to get into any Cal State or any UC. So the fact that we do see some expansion opportunities at the Cal State is so critical, and you are here to tell us about a potential exciting expansion opportunity at Channel Islands.
Yes, I certainly am. We were able in the last budget to get some seed funding for an engineering school at Channel Islands, and the reason that's so important for Ventura County is that we have no engineering programs. We have 2 universities, and we're not educating young engineers.
Come on.
Tremendous demand. We have a lot of high-tech companies that have to go out of state to get their engineers, and we have Naval Base Ventura County also. And they're really in need of engineers. So this is hopefully going to be announced within the next few weeks.
Okay.
And the reason that it's so important, obviously, the companies really need engineers, but Cal State Channel Islands is a Latino-serving institution. And
which is a specific designation.
Right. And it has a very large, high percentage of women also. And those are 2 groups that are very underrepresented in tech.
And yeah, let's talk about that, because it's undeniable that while it's getting better, women are continually underrepresented in science, technology, engineering, and math. It's getting a little bit cool, but still, I feel as if we're not quite there. Am I right?
No, absolutely. And we need to introduce women younger. We need to show them role models. And like the program at Channel Islands, they just need exposure to those programs and need to understand what the economic possibilities are with a technical degree in computer science or engineering.
And what about students in the Latino community? Is outreach, I'm not familiar, is it specifically needed or desirable right now to look at Latinos as our next STEM stars?
Oh, absolutely. And in the county, we do have the elementary schools, we have the middle schools that have programs to introduce Latinos to high tech, and then to have the program at Channel Islands is really a perfect fit. But that is, again, a group that if you look at average salaries, they're lower than the white population. So exposing them to these high-paying jobs, I think, is a big benefit for our region.
And the reality is some of those high-paying science jobs probably will land in the area of cybersecurity.
Oh, absolutely.
And sadly, we need a lot of cybersecurity in our great state of California. As it relates to the private sector, we know Sony suffered a tremendous hack just down the street from your district. We know about Target having their breach and hundreds of thousands of Visa cards being hacked. But now we see that the state of California is at serious risk of a cyber attack. What can you tell us?
Well, obviously, we've been focusing on this for the last year. We've held a number of hearings and just held one a couple of weeks ago. But these breaches continue to happen in the public and private sector. But when we looked at our California departments, we have 160 departments that are holding our personal information. Most of them are not doing what they need to protect the information of the people of California. So I did have a bill last year to require them to do basic security assessments. And
did the bill go?
The bill went through, but it's still not really moving at the pace that it should be moving. So that's really the first step. We need to get our house in order and make sure that we protect our information before we really focus on what the private sector is doing.
Here's what's frustrating, I'm sure, for you. The state auditor released a report last August talking about the lack of attention that's paid to cybersecurity. You hold this hearing recently, and it becomes clear that no one paid attention to that report. And then simultaneously, for reasons of which I am not aware, the state's chief information security officer has moved on. So it seems as if we're really in a tough spot in this state, and attention needs to be paid to this critical issue that we're facing. I mean, look at what happened to Sony Pictures. I mean, they literally were rendered impotent for months. I mean, could you imagine if that happened in California? What would happen with welfare payments, with health payments, with K-12 payments, university payments? It could be devastating.
Well, absolutely, and that's why I will continue to focus on it, and that's why we held the oversight hearing last week, and the report from the auditor, which we went over in the oversight hearing, was absolutely scathing. So it is the legislature, it's our responsibility to provide oversight, and I will continue to do that with fellow Assembly members and hold people accountable, because we really need to set the example. We need to make sure that we're doing everything we can, and that includes, I have another bill this year, looking at what type of response do we have when we have a cyber attack, putting a plan in place, and a lot of work to be done. I will continue to focus on it.
Do you mind if we shift gears and talk about veterans and homelessness? Because I understand that you chair the Veterans Committee, is that right?
I do, yes.
And so I'm sure you're intimately familiar with the homeless crisis in our state, and specifically with regard to veterans. What can you tell us is happening on the state front, if anything? I mean, I know definitively that in Los Angeles County, of which you represent a very small part, there is a significant homeless crisis. Los Angeles County has now become the homeless center of the nation. I mean, California has 12% of the population, yet 21% of the homeless, and veterans homelessness continues to be a thorn in our side.
Oh, it's a huge issue, and luckily, at least as far as veterans are concerned, there has been some focus on it. Prop 41 passed,
right?
And there are a lot of projects that are going forward to provide veterans with homes. Look, we owe it to our vets. They served our country. When they can't come back, we need to make sure that they have the services they're entitled to. We do have a really exciting possibility in Ventura County. We have a veterans home there, and we are working to get, there's some extra land that the city of Ventura would like to have transferred over to it, and they have a plan to build some homeless veteran housing. So lots of small projects going on, and hopefully those will start to put a dent in those numbers. But you know, money is always an issue.
And I'm sure you're aware your colleague Sebastian Ridley-Thomas has been focused mightily on the West Los Angeles VA property. And that has been in litigation for years. And what we learned is that the West Los Angeles VA was not being used for veterans. It was being used for other matters, also veterans. But we hear that there may be some homeless wraparound services now available. Do you feel as if, and it seems like I'm answering my own question, that there is this momentum building towards really focus? Because look, it breaks our heart when we're on the freeway and we get off the freeway and we see someone holding up a sign and it says, I'm a Vietnam vet or a Gulf War vet. I don't even know what to say.
It's tragic. It is absolutely tragic.
I don't know what to say.
But I think we're in a lot different place than we were, let's say, when the Vietnam vets were coming back.
Indeed.
And we have, what I see sitting on the Vets Committee, that there is a lot of support for vets. And now we really need to put our words into action and do things like provide housing. And those wraparound services are really important.
And I believe your friends on the Senate side are looking at a state bond to fund permanent housing for, this isn't so much veterans driven, but for homelessness. Are you starting to hear about it on the Assembly side?
We're hearing a little bit about it, but you know, you look at LA and the problem is overwhelming, and we really need to look at what are possible solutions. And using the mental health funding might make very good sense, because certainly with a lot of the homeless you have mental health issues. So I'm glad there's this big focus on it, that the amount of money that could come, that they're talking about, could really put a dent in things.
Her name is Jacqui Irwin. She is a member of the California State Assembly. My name is Brad Pomerance. We are in Sacramento today on Local Edition.